Hello students, welcome to Infosphere. Today we will talk about following topics. First, Centre's new bill to give it more power in Delhi. Second, transgender persons can enlist in NCC, says High Court. Third, should voters have right to reject candidates, SC asks Centre. Fourth, India's arms imports declined 33%. Fifth, Saudi's loss is US gain as India's top oil supplier. Centre's new bill to give it more power in Delhi. 1. The bill. The Centre on Monday introduced the Government of National Capital Territory of Delhi Amendment Act 2021 in the Lok Sabha. The bill seeks to give overarching powers to the Lieutenant Governor (LG) in day-to-day functioning of the national capital. The LG is appointed by the President on the Centre's advice. 2. The clauses, according to the proposed amendments, government referred to in any law passed by the Legislative Assembly would mean the LG. The bill also makes it mandatory for the elected government to take the LG's opinion for any executive action. The elected government will also be barred from making any rule that empowers it or its committees to take up matters of day-to-day administration or conduct inquiries into administrative decisions. 3. The politics. Reacting to the bill, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal tweeted, after being rejected by PPL of Delhi, 8 seats in Assembly, 0 in MCD by polls, BJP seeks to drastically curtail powers of elected government through a bill in LS today. Bill is contrary to Constitution Bench judgment. We strongly condemn BJP's unconstitutional and anti-democracy move. National Conference leader Omar Abdullah said Delhi deserves to be a full state with all powers exercised by the elected government. 4. A view. The Supreme Court had, on July 4, 2018, ruled that the LG cannot interfere in every decision of the Delhi government and must act on need and advice of the Council of Ministers. The status of LG of Delhi is not that of a governor. Rather, he remains an administrator in a limited sense, the apex court had said. Transgender persons can enlist in NCC, says High Court. Transgender persons are entitled to join the National Cadet Corps, NCC, as per their self-perceived gender identity, the Kerala High Court ruled on Monday. The court also asked the relevant NCC Act to be amended accordingly. The laws. In 2014, the Supreme Court of India ended the legal limbo transgender persons were in by recognizing third gender as formal identity. The central government last year notified the Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act 2019, which said an affidavit from the applicant declaring self-perceived gender identity will form the basis of the identity certificate issued by a magistrate, rejecting any need for a medical certificate. But Hina Hanifa of Kerala was denied entry to NCC as Section 6 of the National Cadet Corps Act, 1948, allowed only males or females to enroll as cadets. Hanifa had wanted to enroll as female as per her self-perceived gender. The ruling. The High Court on Monday ruled the provisions of the NCC Act cannot preclude the operation of the Transgender Rights Act, 2019, that prohibits discrimination. Under the 2019 Act, a transgender person has the right to be recognized not only as a transgender but also a right to self-perceived gender identity, Justice Enu Shivaraman said. The fact that the NCC Act does not recognize the third gender or that detailed guidelines are required to be drawn up for the integration of persons of the third gender into the armed forces or the NCC, cannot, according to me, be a justification to deny entry to the petitioner into NCC. Should voters have right to reject candidates, SC asks Centre, The question, 8 years after giving voters the none of the above, neither, option in elections, the Supreme Court on Monday asked the Centre and the Election Commission whether it would be legally permissible to reject all candidates in the fray if no votes exceeded that of the candidate securing the highest number of votes. The matter, the apex court agreed to entertain appeal in which the petitioners have claimed that though nota was an option for voters, it didn't appear to have prodded political parties to select good candidates sans criminal antecedents as the number of nota votes had no impact on the outcome of elections. The apex court, however, said, Such a move could cause disruptions in formation of parliament and assemblies after elections. The option, No to as an option, was introduced in EVMs on the basis of a 2013 SC judgment. Before Nota, if a voter decided not to vote for any candidate, she had to inform the presiding officer of her decision. The SC ruled that this went against the freedom of expression and the secrecy of voting. The limit. On October 29, 2013, the EC had issued a circular saying in the event of Nota getting votes which exceed the number of votes polled by any candidate, then the one with the highest number of positive votes would be declared winner. This meant that even if Nota got a majority of votes cast in an election, it would have no impact on the outcome of the poll. It still matters. Nota is a tool of political dissent to express disillusionment with the ruling party. It also tells the opposition that for the Nota voter there is no worthwhile alternative candidate or party to turn to. The no vote is also about participating in the electoral process instead of just sitting out of it. That your voting helps cut down bogus voting is also a bonus. India's arms imports declined 33%. India's arms imports decreased by 33% between 2011 to 15 and 2016 to 20, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Organization, SIPRI. The research group tracks actual deliveries and not deals struck during the period. The decline affected Russia the most. Imports from the US fell by 46%. Complex procurement processes and an attempt to reduce its dependence on Russian arms were the major reasons, it said. But India is planning large-scale arms imports in the coming years from several suppliers, it said. For example, the $5.43 billion S-400 Triumph surface-to-air missile systems. India also remained the second largest arms importer after Saudi Arabia. The Indian government has been pushing for a larger share of India-made supplies in its defense purchases. The 2016 Defense Procurement and Procedure Policy, for instance, required that for purchases of above Rs 2,000 crore, the foreign supplier has to ensure 30% domestic value addition in India. The centre wants the domestic defence manufacturing sector to reach a turnover of Rs 1.75 lakh crore, $25 billion, by 2025. Globally, deliveries of arms were flat in the period 2016 to 2020. It was the first time since 2001 to 2005 that the volume of arms deliveries did not increase from the previous 5-year period, SIPRI said. But Middle Eastern countries bought 25% more arms in the period. Saudi Arabia, alone, increased its arms imports by 61%, Qatar by 361%. The Indian government has been pushing for a larger share of India-made supplies in its defence purchases. The 2016 Defence Procurement and Procedure Policy, for instance, required that for purchases of above Rs 2,000 crore, the foreign supplier has to ensure 30% domestic value addition in India. The centre wants the domestic defence manufacturing sector to reach a turnover of Rs 1.75 lakh crore, $25 billion, by 2025. Globally, deliveries of arms were flat in the period 2016 to 2020. It was the first time since 2001 to 2005 that the volume of arms deliveries did not increase from the previous 5-year period, SIPRI said. But Middle Eastern countries bought 25% more arms in the period. Saudi Arabia, alone, increased its arms imports by 61%, Qatar by 361%. Another factor that has possibly helped the US to move up the totem pole of India's crude oil suppliers has been the continued voluntary cut by Saudi Arabia of its crude oil production of 1 million bpd. That led to India importing lower crude oil, by 18%, last month on expectations that the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and its allies, OPEC+, would ease up on the production cuts and as such, lead to lower crude oil prices. That however didn't happen, with Saudi Arabia's oil minister even telling India to utilize its reserves that were built up last year when global crude oil prices crashed to less than $20 per barrel. An additional factor helping US crude oil find a larger market share in India has been the near absence of China in buying oil from the US on account of the trade tariff problem between the two largest economies.